Well, hello, camera? Can we... Hello?
Hello?
Hey, there we go. Thank you. Alright. So... we're going to open up our... We're going to open up our resources. And we're going to get going. Now, all of this playtest info, you can download this. It is at daggerheart.com. In fact, I will provide the link. You can download the open beta version 1.3, which is currently right here. There are some videos that you can watch as well. And we're going to be going through. I have not watched these. I'm operating right out of the book, and we'll go back and reference it. Those videos might have been older, used mechanics that aren't in play anymore. I don't know, but let's figure it out together, right? Keep it local. Keep the conversation going here. But you can download this to playtest yourself, to give it a look, and see what's happening. Now, so far, we have gone over chapters 1 through 3. Well, the introduction and chapters 1 through 3. In short, from how it is written currently, and this has not gone through final editing, as a retailer, and I'm only speaking as a neutral ground retailer, a friendly local game store, to whom would I suggest this product if I had someone ask? This is marketed to, in my opinion, people who've never played a tabletop role-playing game before, who might be coming in from board games, or might enjoy, who watch Critical Role but have never played a role-playing game. So a Critical Role fan who wants to support the actors who make Critical Role. Newcomers to tabletop role-playing. I think that this is written with verbiage towards younger people, like maybe 12, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'd say it's like a 12 plus, 13 plus system. This is low stakes and very beginner friendly. It's not that you can't fail in this system, but it's hard to fail, and you're encouraged never to fail. You always have the option to just not die if your character would face death. Are these bad things? No, but these are things that are good to talk about, that are good to bring up. Now, can you go out in a blaze of glory instead and embrace it? Absolutely, it is in there. My biggest pet peeve is with the very passive tone that this is written in. The current form feels like a behavioral document for teachers learning how to handle little children. Which is why I say that this might be beginner friendly, because there's a lot in here as someone who's played and run for a very long time. It goes into excruciating detail on the things that you don't have to do. And that might sound weird, but as soon as a rule is put out there, almost immediately it's contradicted and it says you don't have to do it. Which you don't have to, but everything is spelled out and repetitive. And the emotional factor that I think Daggerheart wants is mechanized. So it's there However, it feels like I'm being told to feel feelings, or I'm being prompted that, okay, it's now, it's safe now to say a thing or to do a thing. Or, but you also don't have to. So it's like a weird dance back and forth. So that's why, again, for I guess people who've just never played before, everything is written out in detail on the things you can and can't do, and that like I equated it in the last part to talking to someone who's constantly apologizing for things. Like it's so passive that everything is constantly apologized for. Well, you can make a character in Daggerheart, but you really don't have to if you don't want to. I'm sorry. What did I impose on you? That's a hyperbolic extension. That's the back and forth that is conveyed, and over all of these chapters, because we're on 179 here. It really gets grating. You don't have to keep apologizing for offering a rule for your game. It's okay. And I should hope that in the final polish and edit that this is written in a way that would trust the players of the game to understand that they're not being violated by following a rule in a rule book in a tabletop role-playing game. But if this is meant to be written... hi, Uncivil. Good to see ya. If this is meant to be written like as a teacher trying to, impart proper behavior to a school full of children, that's how this is coming across, as a behavioral document. It's not even passive aggressive, just very passive conflict resolution. Which maybe that resonates for some people. If that's the target market, I don't know how many of those personalities are there and who also have the time and disposable income to spend in a role-playing game like this. But that was my feeling coming through. Is this a game I'm personally interested in playing? No. Will I? Oh, yeah. If I'm invited, I can play it. It's not going to be, silver to a werewolf, sunlight to a vampire. I don't feel like the existence of Daggerheart is somehow a contagion on the modern ethos of the Western world. But it's clear that this system is not meant nor written for someone like me. And that's fine, because not everything can be. Not every movie, not every cartoon, not everything can appeal to everyone. And if the writers hit this hard and they go strong with this target market, who I presume they feel is developed, and this will provide, ongoing returns, cool. I will say that I admire the spirit that Daggerheart is not being written as a D&D killer. This is not a D&D. This does not compete with Dungeons and Dragons any more than the sheer fact that on this planet there are two different... If no other systems existed, you have another type of published tabletop role-playing game. This is not meant to compete against D&D. It is not meant to be a... if anything, people would go in through the gateway of Daggerheart into D&D later, as this is way more beginner-friendly. Like, this is bumper bowling friendly to get people learning how to bowl, getting them comfortable bowling, and then you take the bumpers out of the gutters, and then they're bowling. So, I admire the fact, as a friendly local game store, that this is a product that I think is trying to go hard at capturing new interest. Not just as an alternative to D&D. We're talking people from outside. We're talking normies. Normies. We're talking normies. We're talking, board game or like tabletop card game players. People who might not have thought about trying a tabletop role-playing game before. because the concept is I'm playing a board game. You don't die in a board game, or I'm playing Magic the Gathering, but you don't really die. And you could lose, but you don't really die. You don't lose your deck if if you lose in a Friday Night Magic, right? And so I think that's where a lot of these concepts are coming into play. So I admire Daggerheart for trying to pursue it. I think that the way that things are written currently will hamper that, because the language that's used and the tone that's used is going to have people just either nope out or just sort of filter themselves out of possibly wanting to play this game. I think with a polish and a more direct tone to being written and offered to these players, if you're trying to capture board game players, then write your rules out like it is like it's a board game instruction manual, and not as a behavioral handbook for kindergarten teachers. This is a professional opinion that does not have to be accepted nor adopted by any of you who are watching. But this is how it came across. I'm scoring no points by, oh, dude, Matt's totally owning Critical Role and Daggerheart. Not at all. I hate clickbait, outrage, knee-jerk stuff like that. This is something I don't think I would just put a copy of this up in my store, as I don't think my locals would accept it as it is, or there's not really a market for it as it is. Would I ever bring it in? Of course. There's plenty of games that I've had, I've tried to bring aboard, and and either they sell or they don't, and maybe I don't bring them back after selling them. I'm not clutching my pearls at the political or societal implications of some of the verbiage or the people who write or develop this game. I'm in the wrong business if I got uppity about some of that stuff. So there we go. Opening opinion about the tone, and I bring that up because now we need to make sure that the mechanics are backing up what this is hoping to present. This is hoping to present a first-time roleplay experience in short-form games. I think that this is very well built for, one or two shots. At most, the system is limited to 10 levels of advancement. Now, does that mean that you could stretch it out to be, I ran a 10-year-long Daggerheart campaign? Of course, because anything can be anything. You can run an Alien RPG game with D&D 5e and not even use Alien RPG. But we need to make sure that the mechanics are going to back up the fact that this system is meant for short-form play. The rulebook recommends that you level up every 3 sessions, maybe, in which case you have 30 sessions, 30 weeks. You have less than a year if you play weekly to finish your story before you are maxed out, and the mechanics stop from there unless you do some homebrew stuff. So this other part here that I didn't go over the minutia. This is the minutia of running a game, and there are parts that I skipped over because they're redundant to what was already written, or the point was already repeatedly made in other places. So Like I said, you don't have to die in this game if you don't want to. You can, but you don't have to. Leveling up your party. You know, you do it whenever. Tips on a lot of other stuff here. So I think we were at... Yeah, here we go. So Chapter 4, Adversaries and Environments. I hope that this is going to get more into the stat blocks, and we can see how things work, especially against... We have a character sheet here that we can... Pardon. That we can use for concepts and for building. And we can see how the numbers can play out. All right, each adversary has a stat block. Presents statistics in simplified format as described in the example below. So you can see, all right, how does this work? We have some of these trackers. Every adversary is designed to oppose PCs of a certain tier. You can use stat blocks from other tiers, but you may want to adjust their statistics, as described in Improvising Adversaries. Tier 0 adversaries are appropriate for level 1 characters. Tier 1 lines up with levels 2 to 4. Tier 2 is for levels 5 to 7, and Tier 3 is appropriate for levels 8 to 10. And the reason for that is because the way that things progress... the level up system in Daggerheart is interesting in that everyone has the same level up possibilities that you just sort of stack onto the different classes and subclasses. However, through all the possibilities, there may not be it's not a fixed path, it's just a fixed amount of things that you can take on your level ups. And so I see why adjusting the I guess the combat, in D&D terms this would be the challenge rating, why the challenge rating is in tiers like this, that there's kind of this detachment from the level, because you do have levels, but the way that you can spec in this game can lead to wildly different outcomes. And just as hit point loss is baffled by your damage thresholds. So damage does not equal hit point loss. There's like certain break points. I can see why they're doing a similar system for encounters in Daggerheart. Hi, Hero Dragon. So we can see where things are at here. These were the damage thresholds I was getting at earlier, and this is why getting into the mechanics. I can go back and explain if there's a term that you need me to go back and define, or maybe that I even stumble over. We can always stop and go over it. This isn't a lecture. I'm not here to present, a concise play-by-play video to you. We're here to discuss it and explore this together. Features represent the bandit's capabilities in a conflict and are denoted as either an action, which means you must spend a token on the action tracker to use it, a passive, which means it always applies and doesn't require a token to activate, or a reaction, which means you can respond to the specified trigger without requiring a GM move or action token. The bandit has an action called From Above that deals more damage when they're attacking from above. The 3d10 damage replaces their standard damage of 2d8. They also have a passive called Climber that allows them to climb without difficulty. The upcoming adversary features section shows you how to use various features. So, different adversary types. You can read this list yourself. Daggerheart.com. Download the playtest version. This is version 1.3. Hey, GMV. Good to see ya. Adversaries tend to have fewer and broader experiences than the PCs in situations where you think the adversary's capabilities aren't fully expressed. Oh, the system, by the way, does have a lot of things that it leaves a lot to your imagination, and that's not said in some flippant way. A lot of old school Renaissance OSR games are more about rulings, or more like less rule. How does that go? Anyway. Less rules and more just, rulings. Yeah, rulings, not rules. A lot is left to your imagination because this system does try very hard to reinforce that you are playing a storytelling game. I think it's stressed too hard, and it is jarring or Uncanny Valley-like in the current iteration of the rules. But I get the intent is to stress that you are in a story. So everyone just have fun telling a story, please, 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 please. The right side of each stat block lists that adversary's features. Below each feature, you'll find a line of italicized flavor text. This line offers inspiration for how to tie that feature into the narrative and describe it to the players. Features can take 3 forms: actions, reactions, and passives. The following sections describe how to use these features and provide a few examples. You can also find a complete list of adversary features in section pending of Chapter 6. Some moves call for the adversary to mark a stress. Each adversary's stress is separate, so if they run out, they can't mark stress from a different adversary. Some features require spending 1 or more additional action tokens to use. Actions cost a minimum of 1 action token, and if they cost more, that number will be listed in parentheses like so, action 2, for an action that costs 2 action tokens. Some moves say to spend a fear. To make this move, you must spend fear as described, even if you already spent an action token to activate the adversary. The features that always require you to spend an action token, those are adversary actions, are features that always require you to spend an action token to use them. These actions can be divided into 3 categories. Standard attack. Each adversary has a standard attack listed in the left column of their stat block. This includes their attack modifier, the name of the attack, its range and damage. When you spend an action token to activate an adversary, you can always use their standard attack as long as they are within range. Pardon me, sorry. Who knew root beer made you burp? That's dumb. No warning labels. Many adversaries have special actions listed in the right column of their stat block. These represent their skills, innate abilities, spells they can cast, etc. Unique actions might allow the adversary to make an attack, to force PCs to make a reaction roll, or even to change the landscape. When you activate an adversary, you can choose to use one of these instead of making a standard attack. Other actions, adversaries can do nearly anything a PC can. So if you want to do something that's not in the stat block, feel free. The adversary action roll section of Chapter 3 provides guidance on resolving other actions an adversary might take. Alright, so getting into minutia, I'm not going to read over every little bit here. We can always go back and reference it if we want to. A lot of this, for many of you at least here in this channel, either live here on Twitch or later, hi YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can go back and look at this in your own playtest packet. I don't want to read every little thing. This should hopefully make sense to you about what it is, but everything in this playtest packet is written out. Everything is. So they get reactions. When triggered, you can immediately use the reaction, and you don't have to spend an action token or fear to interrupt the PCs with this reaction. The following features are examples of reactions. Spend a fear to add X to the damage of any of the adversary's attacks. When another adversary within very close range of this adversary deals damage to a character, mark a stress to make an attack against that same target. On a success, add the 2 damage rolls together. Passives don't require activation and always apply under the circumstances stated in that feature. Some are always in effect, such as the Arcane Form passive below, which makes the adversary permanently resistant to magic damage. Others automatically come into effect whenever the stated trigger occurs, such as the Horde passive below, which reduces the adversary's damage once their hit points are halved. The following features are examples of passives. In these examples, X represents a number that is different for each stat block. Alright, so examples here. Fear moves, you got to spend that currency to use it. Here we go. Building an encounter. For an easy encounter, use fewer enemies or a larger number of enemies of lower tier. Try using a number of standard adversaries equal to the party size, potentially replacing one with a bruiser, skulk, or support. This is another callback to the roles that you could find in 4th edition D&D, which I say very neutrally. I adored many aspects of 4th edition. I ran it for years and years. I enjoyed it. In fact, encounter building was super easy because of the way that everything just sort of cleanly fit a slot with the math. And now that does lend itself to that whole, well, it's a tabletop video game. And this is as well. Also said neutrally. Daggerheart so far seems to play out like a Zelda game, like a Mario game. A fun little Saturday morning adventure. You die, but you don't really, because you just sort of press continue and you keep moving on. And everything is clean and bright and shiny. There you go. And if you play a game to have fun and you have fun, congrats, you won. For a standard encounter, try using a solo adversary or number of minions equal to the size of the party, plus 2 to 3 from the bruiser. Skulk, standard, and support types. For a challenging encounter, try using minions equal to the size of your party and a leader or solo. If not using a leader or solo, use the minions plus a number of other adversaries equal to the party size. For a climactic arc-ending battle, use a leader, minions equal to 1.5 times the party size, and a number of other adversaries equal to the party size. Playtesters, we specifically invite feedback on your experiences with encounter design during your playtests. Do these guidelines work for your table? If not, what have you found that does work for you and your group? So this is specific. This is something specific that maybe we can play around with, and we can give this particular feedback to the writers. Because a lot of the other stuff I brought up, either they know it or they've heard it before from friend or foe alike online, or it's something that they're not... They won't tell you they don't care, but they're not going to read that part of the playtest feedback, if you get what I'm saying. However, here, they do specifically want math and encounter building advice. When using a solo adversary, it's important to make sure they can take enough turns to challenge the party. If your solo has a relentless feature, allowing them to use multiple actions during your move, they can likely face the players alone. If they don't have relentless, consider including a few other adversaries, since the solo won't be able to act more than once per move. Since the action tracker limits how many adversaries you can activate at a time, it's hard to accidentally overwhelm the players with sheer numbers. The above advice will help you avoid the opposite, not being able to use enough actions to challenge them despite having many tokens on the tracker. Example, Max is preparing a road encounter for their group of 4 to help introduce a new enemy faction. The fight is meant to be easy, so they chose 3 standard adversaries and 1 bruiser. Later, the group has followed the faction's trail and confronts a group on patrol near the faction's this kind of gets into something I was talking about as well. The language used needs to be not passive and more direct and clear. This will be a standard encounter, so Max prepares 4 minions, a bruiser, a support, and a skulk. And finally, when the group has fought through the outpost to confront the faction leader, the encounter will include 6 minions, a leader, 2 snipers, a bruiser, and a support. The leader also has an action that will bring in more minions as needed. Daggerheart has 2 adversary types that can represent foes that are a minor threat individually, but dangerous in a group: minions and hordes. Both are useful for presenting a large group of foes to a party while planning for the combat to stay fast-paced. They help avoid a long, drawn-out fight after the biggest threats have been eliminated, since you can more easily defeat these adversaries without making countless attacks. When you're using hordes or minions, be sure to let the players know which ones are which, unless there's a specific reason for the players to not know, such as a leader hiding within their ranks. So, do the thing unless you don't do the thing. A minion is an individual adversary who can group up with other minions for a big combined attack. But when they're in these groups, the PCs can defeat them en masse with a single attack. Use minions when you want to put a lot of figures on the battlefield or when you need enemies to spread out and independently occupy several positions. By the way, minions in 4th edition, chef's kiss. I loved them. It was a brilliant idea. Something that, I guess, in spirit carried over in 5th edition, just not mechanically. Though I have used minions as per the 4th edition mechanics in 5th edition. Which, you know, given some enemies, you might be like, oh, I mean, isn't it 6 to 1 half dozen to the other? Like a goblin has 2 hit points. There's a concept to the minion that isn't, that a 2 hit point like normal goblin doesn't have baked into it. So, you know, I'm all for minions, this similar idea of minions in a game. A large group of minions creates urgency for the PCs to thin out their numbers before the minions can land devastating group attacks. Each minion has 1 hit point, a minor threshold of 1, but no major or severe threshold, and the following features. For every X damage a PC deals to this adversary, an additional minion within the attack's range is defeated. And group attack. Activate all adversaries with this name within a certain range of a target, spending X action tokens for the group. This group can move and make 1 shared attack roll against that target. On a success, they deal the specified amount of damage per adversary. Combine that damage together before applying it to their target's damage thresholds. Hello! It's not what you're expecting, was it? We got good, Dreaded GM. Can we meet one of your 4 friends now? Always make more later. Hello, Dreaded. Good to see you, my friend. Oh my goodness. What are you up to? What have you been up to? What I say is I give you a shout out at the bottom. Oh, there we go. Raven's beat me to it. Yeah. Hey, Dreaded, we're reviewing Daggerheart. Last week we were going over the tone and theme of the game. You know, as a friendly local game store, to whom is this marketed? Who was this made more directly to entertain or pull into the system? This week, since we're back in the workshop tonight here, pardon, I gotta trim the mustache and it's tickling. We're going to start delving into the mechanics. Now that we understand the system's spirit, let's see if the mechanics are able to back up what I am using every retailer instinct in me to presume is the target audience for this game. But yeah, it's, am I going to Gen Con? I wasn't planning on it, Dreaded. I would absolutely love to, but it's time and expense that I don't know if I can justify. Like, even on the, like, it's a business expense, because it would be a business expense for me. I gotta have the muns up front to expend later, you know what I mean? And so I'd like to, but I mean, unless something is really acting as a beacon this year for Gen Con. Like, Origins is 2 hours south of me in Columbus, and even then I'm going like, It's an inconvenient amount of time to travel that I don't want to do it every day, which means it would be, you know, is that convention worth getting a hotel and staying at? Same thing for Origins. I just don't know if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze this year. There has to be some things that change, overall for that to make happen. But if I do go to any conventions, or there might be a retailer conference I go to, if not at the end of May in Wisconsin, then I'm super planning on going to one that's 2 hours away in Fort Wayne, Indiana, through one of my distributors, and that's going to be in early September. And just as I have in years past, I take pictures, and I'll be sure to I'll be sure to share the the inside scoops and everything. I suppose with that, are you going to Gen Con? Is that where this is going, Dreaded? Is this me missing out on an opportunity to say hi to you in person and shake hands? You are? Of course you are, after I tell you that I'm probably not going. You're a real piece of work that everyone actually should follow. You have a wonderful sense of humor. You have a very straightforward presentation. Your voices are tremendous, and I appreciate the variety of games that you play in your run. It's just that, man, you really just had to twist that dagger and tell me that you're gonna be in Indianapolis, and you. So clearly you're going to fly into Cleveland, and you need a friend to pick you up at the airport and to drive you a very long distance to Indianapolis, so we have plenty of time to talk, right? Right, Dreaded? Right? You're flying into Cleveland, right? Or I could meet you in Detroit also. It's kind of a little further west. I'm driving that way anyway, so honestly, if You flew into Detroit, I could pick you up, and we just keep zooming to the southwest to get to Indianapolis. Hey, look, Dreaded, all I'm saying, if you, let's say you buy a ticket and, oops, I accidentally ended up in Cleveland, man, I sure wish I knew someone with an easy driving distance, you know, who'd be a real solid friend. I mean, mistakes happen, and, you know, implied implications. Well, welcome to you all the same. Um, as for what we're doing here, Dreaded, it's certainly. I mean, you're welcome to look into it. You can download the same packet that I have up on stream here. It's an open beta test version 1.3. You can look at everything we're looking at up here. Well, I don't know. If you want to know my opinion, I can give you a really quick redux of it. If you say no, I want to go into it without, without controversial hot takes and knee-jerk clout chasing that I'm known to present on Twitch and YouTube, then I understand, and you should read it for yourself. So... hot takes in Ohio. It's been like... low to mid 40s and overcast today. The Matty Scoop. All right. The quick and dirty. This is said neutrally as a retailer, okay? Neutrally as a retailer. Daggerheart is meant for someone who might just be a fan of Critical Role and wants to pick up something to support them. You know, it has that attachment. Broadly, this is not a D&D killer. This is not meant to compete with D&D. This is meant to introduce newcomers to role-playing. People who've only ever played board games or like card games like Magic or Lorcana. This is meant to attract a younger audience and a newer audience. The current wording... and they express that this does need to go through an editor. The current wording is very passive and written for a modern audience of particularly maybe a very online presence. Maybe that appeals like to kind of capture the critical role crowd. Okay. It is. I get a lot of 4th edition D&D vibes. Now, I don't know if you've played 4th edition. If you have, then what I said is going to make sense. If not, you get the criticism that 4th edition faced by it feels like you're playing a video game. Daggerheart is it's bumper bowling for tabletop role-playing games. You're still like you take the ball and you roll it down the alley to hit the pins. And you don't always get a strike when you're bumper bowling. It's just you never get gutter balls. And so it has a very bumper bowling feel, or it has the feeling like a Mario or a Zelda video game. Yes, you can die, but you also just kind of hit continue and you press forward as you travel through a very bright and colorful Saturday morning cartoon or video game world. This is not said with indignation. This is not said in that my personal values are at risk of being destroyed by the creators of Daggerheart. This is if you're new to tabletop role-playing games, you're brand new to it, and you want to take what you've learned by playing cards or by playing board games and take steps into role-playing, I think that is the audience that this is aimed towards. This is kid-friendly. I mean, I would say as a player, maybe 10 plus can get in on this. A lot of things are worded, as I said, very passively. Saturday morning cartoons, you don't say, I'm going to kill you. You say, I'm going to defeat you, good guys. That's the kind of presentation that you get through the theme and wording in Daggerheart. So your party faces adversaries, and the way things play out is very narrative, it's meant. It's not beer and pretzels. It's a step further than beer and pretzels. But it is just get together. It's like getting together with a group of friends playing video games for a couple hours. You scratch the itch and there you go. It's definitely meant for short form play. One shots, very short adventures. If you go by what the book recommends, you level up every 3 sessions, and there's only 10 levels. So you're looking at 30 weeks if you play weekly to keep things like churning and to keep things moving forward. That is neither good nor bad, but that is now why we are leaning into the mechanics. Do the mechanics back up a system that is aimed towards younger people or people who are inexperienced at life chronologically or emotionally or anything else? And does it help keep the attention with the shiny, bright world aspects to things? With the way that you manipulate things on your character sheet, I equated that. It's kind of like a fidget spinner. All the players have a fidget spinner in concept, so you can always like tweak a thing and move a thing on your character board with your tokens and stuff. So there is that kind of flashy, there's stuff you can always be doing aside from just sitting there and kind of bouncing your leg restlessly for a couple hours. It is crunchier than a rules light, but it is still meant to be introductory and a starter. And so it Dragonscribe Prime says it's like learning how to play solitaire before you dive into poker. I guess in so much that you learn familiarity with the cards and how they can randomly show up. There's baseline to it. So yeah, this is not a D&D killer, but it's also not meant to be one. This is meant, experienced players, dreaded like you, me, and so many others here. This is playable. This isn't some like dumpster fire where you got to hold your nose or be like, what's the one of the dinosaurs in the Flintstones? Kind of, something happens. It's like used as a can opener or something. Looks to the camera and says, "It's a living." It's not like that. This might make for fun little, like, snappy introduction style games, like colorful little flashes of stuff. This is not coming across to me, in my personal opinion, that this is meant for longer form or to delve into deeper topics or moments. Yeah, any RPG can, but the theme of this is bright, flashy. The horizon is always golden. You are the big damn heroes, which is fun and exciting, right? It's that burst of energy and interest. And I think that the system is meant to capitalize on ooh, shiny, and then it ends before the shine wears off too much. Which, if the mechanics are doing it for it, and that's the type of system that it is, cool. Then that's what you would get with Daggerheart, and that's why you buy it and why you'd want to play it. Or you'd want to use it as an introduction to role-playing to people who've never role-played before. I just hope that in editing, a lot of the unclear and passive tone to the rules is left out or polished up to be written more directly to express the rules as you would find in a board game rule book or in a set of rules for teaching a trading card game. But it does prompt a lot of conversation at the table. It does prompt a lot of creative freedom where you don't have to. It's weird because it both doesn't want you to track a bunch of stuff and it gives you a bunch of stuff to track. So that I there's some weird hiccups there, but it's yeah. So it's fine. In my opinion, this is not a system for me. It is not written to me or for me. I would not keel over or feel morally compromised if I played it or was invited to play in a session or two of Daggerheart. I'm not betraying some, whatever, civic contemplation of morals or duties or standards. But I do not see myself adopting this as a game that I would like to run. But that's simply because I prefer themes that would fall outside of Daggerheart, and especially for my campaigns. A full campaign of level 1 to level 10, and that's the end game, is 30 sessions recommended. I personally, and I'm only speaking for me, I love running years-long campaigns with, a lot more into it. Now, I'm advanced, which is why I think in part I say that this is not a system for me. It can offer maybe like a fun night or two of just trying something new, but I don't see myself as personally playing this. Would I carry this in my store? I'm not offended to put this on my shelf. I just would be cautious about getting a copy or two because I'm worried that it would turn into expensive wallpaper and just sit on my shelf. It feels like one of those things where people go, oh, that's cool, and then they keep walking past it. Or that it might almost be like a symbol, like you put it on the shelf and that's like, people know that, like, okay, so you're this type of game store or something. Like, I don't see myself turning over a lot of copies. Now, I do see this as a game that would be sold to big box stores. Critical Role or Darrington or all them could probably put this in Target and Walmart, as I think that would be a better market for it than game stores. And that sucks saying as a friendly local game store who has been undermined by game manufacturers selling in big box stores. But with a lot of what is directly presented here and maybe ancillary things kind of out that are nebulous, the concept of Critical Role, the actors participating in it, etc. This is more like I don't want to say that this is flavor of the month, but it certainly has a lot of star power and glitter and shine to it that I fear this is a product that, if not done properly, is going to be a burnout. And that, someone, a normie who's working at like Target is going to say, oh, Critical Role is popular with, this online demographic of people, and we'll order it. And I just hope that this isn't something that gets dumped at like Big Lots or Ollie's or something, like box sets of this or something are dumped afterwards because they don't like, this is what the online kids like. They like the Critical Roles because the people who do the Critical Roles, they say the good things on the internet in their show. And that's what the kids like online, like it's like some some completely detached, doesn't know anything like buyer for these big companies, because this is very corporate safe and friendly. I would probably see this in Barnes and Noble as well. Games like 7th Sea. Oh, yeah. 7th Sea, I've played it. Oh, dreaded GM, let me tell you about Yevhen Boroshkaya, priest of the first prophet. Ah, yes, Yevhen, always wandering. Always loves good wrestling. Never turns down a good fight, but also never hurts anyone. 7th Sea, I love the system. I really enjoy it. Princess Bride, the role-playing game for, swashbuckling, a sense of humor, kind of a Renaissance era setting as well. 7th Sea, my friend, chef's kiss. Good stuff there. So yeah, hopefully, I guess that was more than an elevator pitch, unless you and I started in the basement floor of a very tall building and the elevator was very slow. And I hope this doesn't sully your opinion, because you should read it. I firmly believe this about a great many things. People should read things for themselves and make their own determinations. My opinions, as much as I disclaim are my opinions, or that I will say I'm speaking as neutrally as possible as a retailer, it's still not right. I am not you. Not just you, Dreaded, but any of you out there. And so hopefully this is something you all can look and you'll make your own determination on. So it's a system. It can do fun things. The types of games that I think this hopes to encourage are not the types of games that I usually find myself running. And as well, I feel as a professional in this, I can start people role-playing with Call of Cthulhu. I can start people role-playing with D&D and a lot of other systems as well. But that's because I consider myself to be an advanced storyteller. This is made for not advanced play or storytelling. Or that might sound like a hot take, or that that's not meant as a put down or an insult. This is meant for just, quick, friendly play. It's like loading up a Mario game. You know what? I don't care if I beat the game. I just want to load it up. I'm going to jump through some levels. I'm going to get a fun-looking suit to wear. I get a little power that I can use. I'm going to beat some levels, collect some coins, and I'm going to call it a night and then go out and do something else. You had fun, and maybe you even had fun with friends. And so it was not a waste of time. It's just a use of time that I don't resonate with. There are things that I would rather do with my time than this. Like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, right? Very non-controversial statement. Jigsaw puzzles can be all sorts of different things. I don't have a lot of extra time to, for as peaceful and wonderful as a jigsaw puzzle can be, for as much as a team building effort it can be, I like doing things with my time other than putting together puzzles. There are games I would like playing more than Daggerheart. There we go. Fair? Not coming across as stepping on eggshells, like I'm saying things, but I'm not saying things. Yeah? You know what I mean. Acknowledging wink. Nothing I said should be controversial or things that can't also be read out of this playtest packet. I've been reading this, like, first blush, hadn't read it before. Everything has been read live with everyone else. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not in any secret whisper networks to promote or tear down people or projects. I can only speak as a retailer and as someone who just enjoys storytelling games. This is an option. This is not an option for me. it's an option I can recommend to a very focused, small group of people. There we go. Yeah, I do critique because I care. You're absolutely right, Dreaded. Yeah, Scannian, like you could pick up and put down a game of Daggerheart easily, just like you could a board game or a game of Magic or Yu-Gi-Mons or anything else, right? It's meant for casual, light gameplay, fun, with mechanics that have baked-in words of, like, hope or fear. Like, it's prompting, right? It's prompting and consenting to emotion that you don't need to feel it, but it's there. So, though that gets back into personal grumbles. Like, look, I'm going to be 22 this year, everyone. And there's a point where I'm tired of animes having so very, and I understand there's cultural differences in writing, but I'm just tired of the overt references to things in anime. Like, this is the Ragnarok drive that's going to destroy the Loki sword of the Nordic rune, blah blah blah. Just stop. I don't want any. I personally don't want any more of that. I don't need I don't need nuance to be carried by overt labeling, not even symbolism. I don't need to be to have something be called the Ragnarok drive and then go, oh, what's gonna happen? It could be anything. I'm past that point, personally. Yeah, Lucius, it's Daggerheart is a Saturday morning cartoon. Is a Saturday morning cartoon RPG. Nothing wrong with that. Plenty of fond memories, right? You watch an episode, like, things happen, but nothing really happens. There's no real stakes, even though there might be a sense of danger or conflict. And then you move on to the next episode. Same thing happens. And maybe over time, like, something grander happens, like, oh, the Technotrome actually got banished to Dimension X. Well, that's cool. It took 24 episodes of a lot of other stuff, and we had fun. I even have the toys of Ninja... I don't anymore. I even have the toys as a kid of Ninja Turtles. I even have the BK Kids VHS tapes of the... No, I don't have those anymore either. By the way, I'm only going to be 20 this year. Right, but nothing actually happens. That's the vibe and the feeling of Daggerheart. You play it. It's Saturday morning. You come down in your pajamas. You open up the box of Daggerheart. You have fun defeating adversaries, and then you close it up and you say, that was cool, and maybe I'll do it again next Saturday. So. And I'm sure that there is very much an audience for that. And there's times, like, look, I need those escapes and releases like anyone else does too. An indulgence in a cartoon or something, right? Although I've actually been debating canceling my Final Fantasy XIV account because I barely have time to play that. There's a lot of other things I'm doing. So it could just be that, I'm going to be 23 this year, and quite literally this game is not made for me. It's not made for people of my interest, my experience, my time, my whatever. And that's fine, because not everything is made for me. And I certainly can't do everything myself. So... Anyway, that's the very extended elevator pitch, Dreaded. I look forward to, if you ever want to compare notes, or if you load up the playtest, because for all I know, everything that I'm talking about right now, the editors and everything, the behind the scenes team know it, and version 1.4 drops, and everything I just talked about just ups and vanishes like a fart in the wind. And now we have a sleek, polished, Like, it embraces the board game aspect. It doesn't sound like a behavioral manual for teachers, like teaching grade school kids. Not a very like passively written book. And all of that, like, it was kind of like, it was there. It conveyed intention, but it got slicked down, and it was, and it is just, it's there. Cool. And if it embraces this board game, card game, kind of, you have fidget spinners with your character sheet, then lean on that. Don't try and be everything, right? This is not a D&D killer. It is not meant to compete against D&D. People who play D&D can cross over with people who play Daggerheart, but the Daggerheart is not D&D. It is not meant for D&D players who just want D&D. So anyway, mechanics, they exist, I promise. It was getting into encounter building, a lot of 4th edition vibes with the roles that the enemies, or I guess in this case adversaries, take. And this is where the playtesting is needed the most. There's a specific tag here asking playtesters, we need help with encounter manufacturing and balance. So if you like playing with numbers and math and doing the encounter building, this is, above anything else, what they really hope to get feedback on. All right, so more keywords about things. On the fly adjustments to enemies to rank them up into other tiers. Again, very, very 4th edition feeling, which is fine. And just taking a quick peek at here, so tier 0 adversaries, so you throw some of these at some level 1 characters. Everything is pretty straightforward. There's your damage thresholds to their hit point pools. Their experience if they get a bonus to something. A passive feature and an action that they can make for certain conditions. Self-care takes time that I have not had also, Lucius. Just in brutal honesty. My self-care has been abysmal. There's just been a lot of other things going on. So, even though I should make time for it, I really should, I haven't. And it is what it is. So anyway, you all can look through the monsters here. We're in the early 200s now. And then these are things that we can use to play around and build out an encounter. A volcanic dragon, ashen tyrant. Is this a tier 3? Probably. Yeah, tier 3. Solo, so this is a boss monster. And I guess what we'll do is we'll pick up on using environments and see what the environment also has to offer. And this is something that even in D&D and also in many other TTRPGs, this is a shortfalling that many storytellers, GMs, and DMs have, is not using the environments to the best of their abilities. And so we'll see what Daggerheart has to offer, but let's get up and stretch. Refresh yourselves if you happen to also be out of a can of your favorite beverage. And when we come back, let's get into using environments. We'll see how that affects things, and move forward from there. And I don't know, this might help finish out the. Okay, yeah, creating a one shot together. Okay, yeah, yep. So a little bit more stuff like. Oh yeah, chapter 5. Yeah, 4 and 5. Yep, we're gonna get through it. I'll be right back, everyone.